right, and we are live. Welcome back to the Endless Studios YouTube channel. We are back with another day of streaming here. It is the Endless Summer of UAE. We are back here with another one of our UAE teams. It's actually still the other half of Hala Justice. You saw the other half of the team yesterday on our initial Hala Justice stream, but now I'm here with Abzer and Bassam, and we're going to get into a few things. We're going to talk about their game today. We're going to get to know them a little bit. So hi, Abzer and Bassam. How's it going, guys?
Hey there, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's it going, Bassam?
Amazing, everything good.
Awesome. Happy to be here today with you guys. So we were just talking a bit before we hopped on our live stream today here with the audience. So we were talking about what we're going to get into today, and I think we're going to get into a few pretty exciting, pretty fun things. So if you're a viewer, if you're just a fan of gaming in general, if you're trying to get involved with Hala Justice or anything, I think you're going to find a few pretty cool things to hear in this panel
Oh
today.
yeah,
So
definitely.
again. Absolutely, yeah. So like I said, today's going to be kind of a panel. You saw probably what the title of our stream. It's a Meet the Team. So we're going to talk a bit about, I kind of want to start, I'm going to be our moderator here today. I'm going to ask you guys a few kind of interview questions, but again, we're kind of just going to have a conversation here today for everyone listening. So it's going to be a bit more casual. We're just going to kind of have fun here. But before we get into, all of that good stuff, I do want to, just kind of touch base with Hala Justice again before we get into what you guys want to talk about. So, Abzer, maybe if you want to start by just kind of giving us a brief introduction to your role on Hala Justice and kind of how you got into this game and anything else you want to share about the title since we heard from your teammates yesterday.
All right, let's do this. All right, so first of all, I'm going to just introduce myself. My name is Abzer, as you guys might have known. So I'm the art designer, like the main art designer for the game. So my primary role is to make the environment art, the assets, and the character sprite sheet animations. So it's a fun thing to do. And how I got into this team was our university has a gaming channel, a gaming and an anime club, a WhatsApp group. So I was just scrolling through that, and one of my university mates they shared a link. So the link took me to an Endless Studio channel where other people were actually making teams. So one of the teams were Ajaz and Bassam and Fadi. So I joined them. And then we were discussing about what kind of game we are going to make. And we were discussing the storyline, the plots, on what kind of art style we are going to do. And then luckily, we got selected. Just a great moment.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you here. Thank you for sharing that, Abzer. Bassam as well. I kind of want to ask you, kind of the same question there if you want to hop onto that. How you kind of got involved or, and what you're excited about with Hala Justice.
Yeah, so my name is Bassam Ahmed. So I'm in the same university as Ajaz and Abzer and Fadi. So I also got into this opportunity similarly as Abzer did. So through the WhatsApp group and email which was sent out to all the university students to have an opportunity to do internship with Endless Studios. So it was really exciting and to the point we have reached right now, what we have learned and what we have gained, and yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And it's pretty awesome to see all the progress you guys have done so far. I mean, just from the first things I've seen, I mean, maybe not our viewers here on the channel have seen yet, but from your initial demos to now, you guys have been doing some awesome work. So we're super excited to see how it's going to keep going on throughout the summer. And I want to include our audience here. We do have a question from the audience, actually. So I kind of want to throw that in there really quickly. Someone said, what university? So you might have said that briefly, but they may not have heard you. So
yeah, we're from Abu Dhabi University.
Mm-hmm.
So really
Abu Dhabi University.
It's present in the United Arab Emirates, UAE, where Dubai is.
Exactly. So that answers their question there in the chat there. Thank you for that. We're just want to keep our audience, chat open, so you guys have any more questions in the audience here as we keep pouring in as the show goes on, please let us know and ask your questions here, and I'll try to relay that here into our panel. But moving on, I do want to kind of, as we've talked a bit about how you've been involved in Hala Justice, I do kind of want to move on to kind of any kind of secrets of the trade, if you will. So my question here is kind of during your first few weeks developing Hala Justice and kind of getting into game making. Is there anything you learned or anything that was maybe kind of funny or any kind of setbacks that were kind of things you had to adjust
Definitely.
to when developing games?
Yep.
Because I'm sure there were a few,
Okay,
because
so
it's never
okay,
seamless.
so yeah, here's the story. So this is my first time actually implementing my digital artistic skills for a game. All right. So when we decided on going for a pixel art, and this is my first time, by the way. Like I've never done anything like
Yeah.
this before, and even in digital art, I'm not that much experienced. So we came up with a character design, and like every one of each of my teammates, like every one of us said, okay, this character design is really good. We are going to go with this. And when we showed it to Brian and the others, they actually liked the character design, but it was nowhere as good as it was supposed to look. Like it was not good as in like in a professional science sense, if you get what I mean. So that is actually a funny moment. Like if you compare with the original character design and the character design we have right now, it is like a day and night difference.
Mm.
So I'm gonna give a big thank you and shout out to Brian, because I'm telling you, he's the reason he actually kind of told me and guided me on how to do the pixel art, how to do the character model and stuff. So a shout out to you, Brian.
Absolutely. Shout out to Brian, as always, for all his amazing work and support here. I do want to say, that's one of those things where you said it's not professional quality. And I don't think that's any, indictment on your ability at all. I think that's one of those things where you have to adjust to when we want a certain
Yeah, that's
style for a
exactly
certain
what I mean,
game.
yeah.
And I know you didn't mean that, but I want to remind everyone who's
Oh, yeah.
viewing, it's not something that everyone, has to learn as part of the process. That's one of those things where
Yeah.
sometimes it's a certain style or a certain parameter for a new project.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
something that we all have to adjust to together. And I think that's something
Yeah,
that you
Brian
guys were
actually
able to
liked
do
my
so awesome.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Brian actually liked my. Oh yeah, sure. Brian actually liked my original design, but as I said, even myself included, I actually have ridiculously high standards when it comes to artwork. So when Brian pointed to me in the right direction, I saw like if you compare the differences, I saw like Brian was actually right. Like he was right on guiding me on how to make it right. So yeah, big thanks to him.
Absolutely.
And for my scenario, that when I learned everything from scratch. So previously I used to make posters or wallpapers where I used to take icons and images from Google and just use it on Photoshop. But when I started working on this game, this was totally new to me. Everything I had to learn from scratch, from pixel by pixel, which was before I used to take, as I said, from Google and just put it on the artwork on the clipboard. But now what I do is create everything pixel by pixel, so that everything we produce is from our own hands. So this is something really what I have learned, and which is going to improve, and we will, as we have to design the game, so we'll show it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those answers, guys. And I think that's something that's a great, learning opportunity for anyone who's viewing or is interested in
Oh yeah,
getting into game
definitely, yeah,
design or getting into, participating,
definitely. Like
whether
the
you're in high
first
school or
time,
college.
I like the first time when you get into this, like if you don't have any other experiences regarding in this artwork field or gaming field, and if you listen to what experienced people are saying to you, and if you follow their path, you're gonna learn a lot.
Yeah.
Also
Like I'm
practice.
pretty sure, yeah.
Without practice, nothing's you're gonna achieve.
Absolutely, and practice makes perfect there. That's a great
Yep.
end note on that topic, because I think that's something that we want to remind all of our students that I was this way as well too when I first started getting into game development and things like that. And I thought a lot of us want to be perfectionists right off the bat, or say if I don't get it right this first time, this isn't good enough, I'm not gonna be able to do this. But it's all about iteration, especially in game development. You're gonna run into those pitfalls. You're gonna have issues with your code, with
Yeah.
your art, whatever you're doing. You're gonna run into a lot of roadblocks and a lot of obstacles, and it's important to remind everyone that part of the skill of being a better artist and a better coder, whatever you're doing is jumping over those hurdles and
Exactly.
believing in yourself,
Like,
because it's not going to be
yeah.
perfect the first time. It
Oh,
often
it never
isn't.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like as an
Yeah, like,
artist myself,
you come
the key.
next time you don't overcome it.
Absolutely,
All
yeah,
right.
and especially when you think it's gonna be, perfect the first time. Even if you are near perfect the first time, you can always improve. So that's
Improve.
Exactly.
something to
Like
always remember.
you can never reach absolute perfection. There is always
Exactly,
room to improve. You can set the limits yourself and cross the limit.
exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly.
and hopefully with great good game development, especially when we have our teams here, and when it comes to collaboration, hopefully you find a good balance there, and
Oh
we
yeah.
can be supporting each other and giving ourselves the right balance to find things. And I
Yeah.
think that's something you guys do incredibly well. And like I said before, I mean, I think especially our viewers will see this the more and more you guys stream, and the more we share with our tasks and everything, that
Yeah.
you guys are really great at iterating new ideas and adding things to the game. And I think our high school students are going to be excited to get involved with that as well, whether it's level designs or other things like that. There's a lot of opportunity here at Hala Justice, so it's really cool stuff. Absolutely. So
Thank you.
I do want to continue on our interview here and ask you guys a few more questions. Again, I do want to kind of wrap it up with Hala Justice a bit now with one last question, and then we'll kind of carry into our next topic, and that is there any really I know a large inspiration for many of our games here is the history and the culture of the UAE, and that's definitely
Yeah.
relevant with Hala Justice as well. So I was wondering if maybe you wanted to touch on that just a little bit, but then also is there any other influence? Is there any other things you took from media or maybe personal experiences or other things that you've known beforehand before this development
Yeah.
process
Of
that have maybe
course.
influenced you and your in making a game like Call of Justice?
Yeah. Like one of the reason we decided to go with pixel art, other than the reason of pixel art being easy, there is a sense of nostalgia you get when you're playing a 2D pixel game. Like
Mhm.
today we have like all these different AAA titles with amazing graphics and all. And when you're playing a 2D pixel game, it takes back to those good old years, the golden age of gaming. So there are also lots of good pixel art games. They are really amazing, like a Celeste and Hollow Knight. I don't know if you heard about Hollow Knight. It's a
I have,
really a
yeah.
great game, yeah,
Mhm.
and it's really incredibly hard to.
Yeah, I've heard it's very,
Yeah,
very, very difficult.
it is. Also, for one of our main boss, we are trying to make the main boss like a Dark Souls kind of boss. You know how difficult Dark Souls bosses are.
Yeah.
So we also kind of want to implement that level of difficulty, but in a way that the player can actually.
I got you, and that's awesome. And I think I may be losing your video here for a second, Abzer, but that's let's see if we can get you back in a second here. But I do want to say that that's a great. I love that that's your inspiration there. I think that especially with your flexibility here with maybe having our participants be doing level designs to have that level of difficulty. It's really leaves a space for like unlimited amount of possibilities there, especially when you have that kind of like you said a Dark Souls type esque boss as well as those different enemy types. And there you are back. We got your video, Zach here. But I think there's a lot of options when you think of when you compare to classic 2D side scrollers. You mentioned Mario in the past. You mentioned Hollow Knight and Celeste and
Oh
other games like
yeah,
that. And I think when you think of something like maybe like a Mario Maker or older games where you can edit levels, I do think that this is such a great opportunity. Not really on that level, but for on a higher involvement for our high school students to really get and not just making
yeah,
casual type levels, but making something that could really fit into the challenge and even into the
exactly. Yeah,
scope and the story of your game. And I think that
we want
having
to
that
make
kind of
it as challenging.
open-ended.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
we want to make it as challenging as possible at the same time, not too challenging. Like as I told you, we want to make it feel like a bit of like Dark Soulish, but at the same time, not exactly like Dark Soulish. If you get what I mean.
Gotcha,
And we
absolutely.
also yeah, we want players to have fun, and it should be challenging too. Like it should not be too easy at the same time, not too hard. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, inspiration like it comes from Minecraft as well because Minecraft being one of the most played games in the world and it's pixel art sandbox game. So
Mhm.
this shows that the people love sandbox games and pixel art, ideas. So this gave us an inspiration as well to create a game based on pixel art and sandbox.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And I think, like you said, it's something about that makes your game, I think, very accessible, but also it has such a strong base that you could build on so much upon it. Like I was saying, with everything going on there, so I think it's a really, really awesome, awesome structure there. And we also have a few audience questions. I do want to hop in here as well. We have a
Yeah,
question
good
from
to see
Leon
it.
on the Algaru team that you guys saw stream yesterday. She asked, "How do you guys manage your time as being a student, being an active college student as well as making a game?" And obviously, we're getting into our summer here, but that was something that you guys definitely had to juggle with, during the end of the year there for
Yeah, that's
sure as we
something
got
we
our
had
project
to
started.
juggle with. Yeah.
So, you think you could maybe touch on that
The
a bit
thing,
about how that goes
the
how that
thing
goes
is,
down?
when it comes to doing stuff like this, you are gonna lose lots of sleep. That's the first thing. Like, say goodbye to sleep because your work, sometimes you have to put your work before your sleep. And then the other thing is you have to find some way to make do. Sometimes you have to prioritize what's important. Sometimes you have to prioritize your work. Sometimes you have to prioritize your school. It completely depends.
hmm And I think that's a great answer. And of course, we gotta
Yeah,
take care of
I
what's
agree
most
with
important
that.
at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And again, we joke about losing sleep, but sometimes it's not a joke at all.
Yeah,
I know you're
not a
not.
joke.
You're pretty serious there. It's half joke, half
But
reality sometimes when it comes to that. But we really appreciate. It's tough for anybody to be juggling, having when you're a
yeah,
full time student. And we're an education first kind of
yeah.
statement here.
But at
Obviously,
the
we
same
love
time,
we're here to educate. And we want to emphasize
yeah,
that education comes first there. But I think
for sure.
what you guys are doing is also very much its own form of education as well, and a learning experience. With
Yeah,
any game development project, it comes with a lot of learning, and especially for our high school participants as well that'll get to participate.
yeah,
It's a
The
really great
weekends,
learning experience, and
yeah, the weekends are meant to be used correctly. So what we do is we spend our time here learning this and trying to improve on. So weekends is the key here. Don't waste your time on the weekend.
well, hopefully we can get some balance in there too, and you get to
yeah.
get some free time, and get some relaxation time, and time
But
to
for
eat
me
and sleep and
personally,
do what you gotta, do what you gotta
yeah,
do. But we admire the work ethic for sure, guys. What were you gonna say,
that's
Abzer? Sorry,
amazing.
when there's
Yeah,
three of us, I'm sorry if I'm talking over, but
it's fine. Like
please jump in.
we all are enjoying ourselves here, so it's a good
Mhm.
thing. Yeah. So
Absolutely,
what was I able to say?
yeah,
For me
absolutely.
personally, let's say if I'm gonna start doing on my game project after my studies or stuff. It's actually fun, I don't feel stressed or anything. Like when I'm creating character, I actually feel happy and relaxed. So it's not a big issue for me, but I don't know how it's for the others. But I bet the others are also having fun when they are working on this.
Yeah, it's
That
your comfort zone. This area is your
Yeah,
comfort
yeah,
zone.
exactly.
This
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
And that's a great way to segue into some of our next topics here, because I did want to ask you, and this is something that we got some questions on as well in the chat. Leon again asked what made you guys pick 2D over 3D, and I think we kind of already covered that already as well, kind of the
oh yeah,
accessibility of
yeah,
pixel art as well as so we
It's
kind of
that
already
simple.
covered that,
yeah,
and the fun of it as well, and the complexity that can come from being able to build on pixel
exactly.
art like that,
Like
and I think.
it looks simple, but you can make it as complicated and challenging as you want.
Exactly. And I think that's something that's very cool about building on the history of 2D games and then building on these new mechanics, new features, and having that
Exactly.
expandable. Again, I think that's
Yeah,
super awesome. And I wanted to just kind of, what we were talking about before about work ethic and everything as well. I think that that's something that, when we talk about kind of what you guys are able to do in your free time versus being able to work on your games. And I think that, like you said, it's when you're on your comfort zone and you're doing something you love, a lot of times you can feel like you're not working at all. And I think that that's something to, remind people, especially our younger game makers here who are interested in video games and making their own stories and their own worlds. I think it's a lot of times when you could fall into that initial of, man, this isn't playing, this is this is work here. And I think that that's a little can be scary at first when you first get into jumping from being a gamer or
yeah,
player to then wanting to make your own game. And I think that that's something that we can note here, that once you find that groove and you find that idea of that passion in what you want to create and that end goal, then you can find that that passion, that fun of creating, where it kind of
exactly.
becomes something
Yeah,
that's more comfortable and almost like you're playing your own game, because you're in control of what's going on here in terms of your art and your story, and not just in a
definitely.
fill in the box way. It's more so of a you're allowed to bring that creativity and that passion in, and that's what's pretty awesome about game making. So it's very cool that you're able to bring something that you're passionate about, into something that, into your,
It's your own
your
words.
work.
You can do anything you like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And for those of you who are looking, pursue a career in game making, or just to make a game yourself for fun, I would say start off just doing it for fun. Follow that passion,
Exactly.
follow that inspiration there. And I do have one more question. We have another question from the chat. Did you ever imagine that you would be doing this, like you're making games currently the way you are? Is that something you would imagine you'd be
Definitely
doing this
not.
early?
This was for me. This was also fast. It happened lightning quick. I did not expect something like this to ever happen to me. So, like, I'm really happy about this. Like, actually, I could actually say that this all happened within a day.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's
kind
how
of
it
how it
all
often
felt like.
goes, right?
Yeah,
For
I
me,
think there's.
I'm totally on the other side of the coin. I'm doing my major is mechanical engineering, but my passion and my interest for gaming helped me get here. So this is something extraordinary for me.
That's awesome, guys, and I think that's I'm losing the saying here, but you reminded me of an old quote where it's like there's it's not just luck, but luck is when opportunity and passion meets. Where
yeah,
when you have that one moment that if you're ready to jump in, sometimes you could be right. Sometimes an opportunity can arise, and then bam, you're right down the path of whatever you're doing faster than you ever thought you would be. So that's it's funny how things work out that sometimes like that. But again, I know I said it a few times here, but we're super thankful to have you guys be a part of Endless here, and I think. We're all excited to see how Hala Justice
oh yeah.
continues to evolve. And we have another message here, actually coming from Ajas, another team member here at Endless, who asked us, Bassam, after this project, will you pursue a career in game making? And I think we just touched on that, but if you want to answer that,
Uh,
is that something you're passionate about, or are you thinking about going back to engineering? Is it kind of up in the air? I mean, that's kind of
my
on the spot
career
question
is in
there.
the engineering, but this is just for interest. I had some skills I developed on those as I worked through with Endless. So
Mhm.
like it's a thing that which you will not regret about, because learning is something which will always help you in life. So yeah, along with engineering, I am doing game making as well. So it's a really amazing thing for me.
Awesome. I think that's a great answer. Thank you. And I think that's to kind of add on to that for Josh, I think that especially with something in engineering, like I'm sure you'll have a lot of talents and a lot of places you can take that. Whether it's I'm not sure exactly what type of engineering you're in, but whether that's game making, anything else technical, I'm sure that you'll have a lot of versatility there. So I think that's super awesome, and we're definitely excited to see what you do in the future. That's for sure. But I do want to kind of open this up to a bit more of an open discussion here. So excuse me, I'm getting a phone call here. I'm gonna mute that in the corner. I'm not sure if you heard that. Apologies there. But yeah.
That's
So
fine.
I do want to I do want to open this up to we've talked a bit about Hala Justice. We've talked a bit about you guys and your passion for game making, as well as kind of what fields you're in and what you're doing here for the game. So now, kind of moving on from that, I want to ask you, and this is something that we kind of had a message in the chat as well, and I thought we'd keep that as a segue for the second part of our
Mhm.
interview here, which is the question was also from Josh, which is what games do you guys play in your free time? And I felt maybe we could take a moment to kind of talk about some games that we've played in the
Oh yeah,
past.
that
Maybe
would
I
be
could I could
amazing.
share some thoughts, and we could talk about maybe what we're excited
Sure.
about, because I'd love to hear where you guys are in game making, because I think that gives us a good picture of obviously
Yeah.
we know about Hala Justice, but I think it helps us all kind of get on the same page about what we love in gaming and what's going on. So I think that'd be it. If you want to start off, Abzer,
Yeah.
again, we
Yeah,
start with
I'll
you
go
and
first. So
talk about
at the
what you've been
moment,
playing.
yeah, at the moment, I've been playing a lots of Rainbow Six Siege. Amazing game, by the way. Amazing game. Like it's like Rainbow Six is the only game of its kind. Like unlike other shooters where you just run and gun.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, very
Amazing games,
nice.
both of them. Yeah.
And it's
Uh,
it's
And how
funny you
about
bring
you?
up Rainbow Six Siege because I actually just played Rainbow Six Siege last night for the first time in a while. I was
Oh,
like, you
okay,
know what,
that's
let me
amazing.
hop on Rainbow Six Siege again. So I actually just did. And like you
Yeah.
said, especially
Who's your main? Who's your main on the
I
attacker and
actually
defender
just
side?
got a new operator, and I'm forgetting his name. I think he was one of he was on the second row of operators. He wasn't one of the original tiers, but I think he was either Maverick, and I think I'm just confusing that because I saw Top Gun recently. I don't think it was Maverick, but it was something. He has the blowtorch where he can like go through
Oh, yeah,
walls.
that is
And
Maverick. Yeah,
Maverick.
Maverick.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So it was Maverick. So I
an
did try
amazing
Maverick
operator, by
last
the
night.
way. Yeah.
I actually very much enjoyed him on the attack. And then for my defense, I believe I was playing again. I'm gonna miss I'm gonna miss the name here. Maybe like it was Toxin or something. The guy who has all like he has like those like toxic gas grenades and
Oh,
I'm
yeah, that's
forgetting
Smoke. Smoke. Yeah,
Smoke. I think it was Smoke. So yeah,
he's an
those are
amazing
my.
defender. Amazing defender. Like he's
So
one
you
of
could
those.
tell.
Yeah, S tier level defenders.
That's awesome. You could tell it's been a
Yeah.
while since I've played, but I was definitely I played for about an hour or so last night, and I definitely had a good time. But like you said, when you're in those 1v5 situations in Rainbow Six, I think there was I have to find it because I used to take my PlayStation clips whenever I had a good play like that, and there was a time where I got a 1v5
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my goodness, I would never I never really felt like that in Call of Duty even or Battlefield. There's something about Siege about
Exactly.
how
It
tactical it
kind of
is, where
feels heroic.
it feels a lot more heroic in that situation. Yeah, like you
Yeah,
said, absolutely.
because you need mad skills to actually pull off a 1 versus 5 because it's not
Yeah.
a thing to be taken lightly. Because
Exactly. That's something
you
I
are
really only
pouring
did
all your
once.
focus. Yeah, exactly. You're pouring all your focus and energy and brain power on fighting 5 players at once. It's not
Mhm.
easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to get Bassam in on this as well. I wanted to talk about Siege for a minute, but I wanted to get your games as well. Then maybe we can keep talking about a couple of these games. But I wanted to hear from Bassam as well on what some of his
Yeah,
favorites were when he was
so
playing.
my personal favorite game is Valorant. So it's
Ah, very nice.
just like Rainbow Six Siege. It's a team-based game and a tactical shooter game where there are up to 30 about up to 30 different agents. So every agent has his own abilities and own unique powers. Where So it's a 5v5 game. So
Mhm.
the team that as we know, any general game that destroys or kills the other enemy's team first, it wins the match. So it's just like this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know Valorant has a huge like PC community online as well. And
Yeah.
I've had some friends who play Valorant. Like you got like that's all they play. Like you gotta play Valorant, man. You gotta play Valorant. And it has a really I know it has a really strong and awesome
It's a
community. And it's
really
one of
The
those.
amazing
very
game.
challenging part about Valorant is how to rank up. So yeah, in my case, uh, I played for about a year and I
Mhm.
reached about gold 3. So in order to rank up to the highest level, I have to play at least another year or so.
Wow.
That's the thing about Valorant.
Yeah. And that's something I know I've played for myself in a few games, especially like Valorant or like CS:GO in my past. Back in the back when I haven't played CS:GO in a while, but back when I played my PC a bit more. Um, and sometimes with the rankings, obviously people take their rankings very seriously in certain games, even in games like Rocket League, which I play from time to time with my friends as well. Where if if you're not that diamond or gold status, it's like you're really grinding to get there. A lot of times it seems. And I really love the competition that those games bring. I love the atmosphere. But again, like you said, if you're more of a casual shooter player, or if you're not someone who's gonna grind for a long time, it can be daunting to be like, man, I gotta play for a year or or two or more to be able to get to that level. So I think it's something that it's definitely one of those games that lends itself to esports and that competitive nature, I think for sure. But I love those games, and I think Siege is definitely one of those as well, where it's definitely can you can definitely play it casually, but there's definitely like that competition atmosphere is very fierce, and I'm sure that they definitely both lend themselves to esports as well. And I'm curious if you guys are there any other games you play that kind of have that competitive nature, or are there maybe are there any single player games or more casual games that you play that you want to note?
For me, the other kind of game I actually enjoy was Batman Arkham Knight. The
Hmm.
thing I actually like about is it's basically kind of like a Batman simulator. Like
Yeah.
you don't feel like you're playing Batman. It's like you play as Batman. Like you feel like
Hmm.
you are the Batman because
Hmm.
like if you have read the comics and seen the animated movies, you know how amazing and cool Batman is,
Yeah.
and you actually get to try out all the stuff he does within the game, and you try out different tactics and stuff. And the other amazing thing about the game was the soundtracks. The soundtracks were top tier. Like I had nothing bad to say about that.
Yeah, that's a great one. And
Yeah,
I will say before we move on to Bassam's answer, I played Arkham City as well. I was big on Arkham Asylum, the original game when that first came out, and then I
that
haven't
is
played as much
amazing
of.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't played as much of Arkham Knight. I have a little bit, drove around with the Batmobile and that in that game. I know the game doesn't get as much of the story praise as the first two, I would say. But again, I think Arkham Knight's still a very fun
yeah.
game as
Actually, I
well.
can agree with you on that one. Arkham Knight's story could have used a bit more improvement, but the reason I play is mostly I just free roam. I just
Yeah,
free
same
roam and
here.
there's a beat up
Like you
attacks.
said,
Yeah,
I
and
love
the
just being
gliding
Batman in that
animation. Yeah,
game,
exactly. Yeah,
getting in the
yeah.
Batmobile. Absolutely. And
Like
I
the
think
physics and stuff were amazing.
for sure, for sure. And I love the combat
Yeah,
and the latch on combat that the Arkham series has. And
yeah.
especially there's a lot of people have to say that it was more of a, a descendant of the Arkham games or kind of took from it, but the Spider-Man game on PS4 as well. I was really a big fan of that game as well because I felt like it was like, there've been Spider-Man games in the past and other superhero games as well, but that was one where, like you said about Batman, it felt like they kind of took a lot from that
Yeah,
combat with the gadgets as well and kind of the atmosphere
yeah,
of it.
I
It
can
really
agree
felt
with
like you
you on that
were
one.
embodying him to maybe not to the extent of Batman Arkham, I would say, but I'm very excited for that sequel as well. It's something I probably talk
I
about
haven't,
on
I
our
haven't, I
podcast.
haven't played the
Talking about
Spider-Man games yet. I haven't played the Spider-Man games yet, but I did see some gameplays of the previous installments,
mhm.
and I could say that one thing that actually caught my attention was the swinging, the
Yeah,
free roam and swinging. It was
mhm.
amazing. Like it
Yeah,
felt immersive.
and you combine that with a little bit of close to I would say Arkham
Yeah,
style combat, but it's a little more loose. You're
exactly.
flying up in the air, you're
Yeah,
pulling people with webs. It's very fluid,
it, it,
and
it, it was very fluid.
yeah, and that's coming to PC as well. We just had that on our podcast a week or two before on the Let's Report, but it's coming to PC, I believe in
Yeah,
October,
yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah,
I think it's still on wish list on Steam. I'm not sure if you can actually order it yet on Steam, but that's pretty exciting for any of our PC players watching or anybody, any of us who play on PC. I'll see if maybe I can
definitely.
get that going at some point. I'm still crossing my fingers about the Steam Deck. I'm not sure if you guys have are interested in the Steam Deck at all, but I've been dying to get my
I
hands
think
on
I
that
think I've heard about it.
console. Essentially what it is it's basically a portable gaming PC. So if you think of like it's really it
Oh,
looks
okay,
very
yeah,
much like the
yeah, yeah.
Nintendo Switch. If you know the Nintendo Switch, looks very much like the Nintendo Switch, but it's
Yeah,
basically like an
I saw. Yeah,
Xbox Series S almost level PC that can run most modern, most games, albeit a lower resolution and
that
some,
is amazing. Like
but it's pretty
running
incredible.
AAA game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a video on that on Linus Tech Tips. If you know that YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's where I
And
saw the Steam Deck from.
And I think we're fans of Linus Tech Tips here at
Oh,
Endless for
definitely.
sure. We've seen a good amount of his videos. And they have they had some good coverage on it as well, and it was really interesting to see. Like, I mean, games like you said, like Dark Souls, Rainbow Six. I've
Yeah,
seen Apex Legends. I've seen the Elder Scrolls series. I've seen Call of Duty. I mean, any Valorant. I mean, really any PC game you could probably think of, you could play on that. On the couch, on the go, and it's really
yeah.
it's really
That's a
something to
really
be
nice
excited about.
idea.
Yeah, it's really
The
cool console. So that's
the
something
thing I'm
I'm
actually
trying to get my hands on.
yeah the thing I'm actually worried about is the cooling system. Like I don't know
Hmm.
how that's gonna work. Like it might get overheated really fast, so you might have to figure out a way to cool it ASAP.
Yeah, and I've seen like fan reports on this, and I think they have a large I think Steam and Valve is traditionally I think pretty good with this with their products, but I think they have like a whole Steam's like support community kind of page going on as well as like a large community around it where I believe last week they were updating the fan speeds, like the certain clock speeds and
Yeah,
overclocking to make sure everything wasn't overheating. Game specific settings. So I think they're very good, and especially the fans around it are very good with having like a lot of open source communication on what's the best settings for things, how to not overheat it. There's a lot of like open
yeah.
source projects going on around it, which I think is very cool. In regards to the Steam Deck, but I want to keep going there in terms of other games. We did talk about those games, but I do want to ask Bassam as well if there's any kind of
Yeah,
single player or any other games that you play
yeah,
that aren't.
like as for the football lovers, I'm not sure if you guys love football. So
Hmm.
FIFA is one of my personal
Yeah,
favorite games as a football fan as well. So I enjoy FIFA as well. So it's like a real live football game playing on a computer. So what's the benefit of playing such a game on? So you learn more rules, you understand the
yeah,
game much
absolutely.
better, you get more feel into the game, and yeah.
Yeah, I play FIFA myself, so I'm a little more of I've been American football fan my whole life being in the U.S., so we've been a big fan of American
You
football.
played
But
an
you
American
know,
football game.
yeah, and they have Madden as well, so they have that option for me as well. But funny enough, I prefer FIFA, much more. I'd rather play FIFA on most days than really Madden or even like NBA 2K. It's really FIFA really ends up being probably my favorite sporting game for a lot of reasons. Just because again, like you said, I learned a lot about football, like little things like when I was younger, playing FIFA when I was a young kid, I would be like, oh, this is what the offsides rule is. This is what I would learn things about the game that maybe I wouldn't have known without the
Yeah,
FIFA video game. Funny enough, it's funny to bring up FIFA because we were just talking about this on our endless report a few weeks back. But FIFA is actually in some talks now. They've had a bit of EA Sports, who creates the FIFA game, has had a bit of issues with
yeah,
the FIFA
yeah.
organization wanting more money, and they're actually not going to be calling the game FIFA any longer after FIFA 23. It's going to end up being called EA Sports Football Club, EA Sports FC, I believe
Yeah,
is the
there's a
shorthand for
name
that.
change.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
read something about that a while back.
So it's interesting that that's coming up. I think a lot of it had to do with the FIFA organization wanting more money, and EA saying, you know what, we'll kind of go out to all these football clubs ourselves and just get the so they're still going to get the Premier League, they're still going to get I think most of the international teams and kind of the rights for the players and stuff like that, but they're just not going to have that FIFA name on the box. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out for them. If FIFA will try to sell their license somewhere else, maybe, or like there is the PES football. I think it's professional
Yeah.
entertainment soccer. I'm not sure exactly what PES stands for there, but
Pro
I know
Evolution
that
Soccer.
game. Yeah, Pro Emulation Soccer. Thank you. So maybe they get a FIFA license. Maybe they pull something out of their sleeve there and say, hey, we'll buy the FIFA license, and that could really shake things up there in the football, the sport game space. So I thought that was really something interesting when it comes to FIFA to just bring up. But
But
yeah.
FIFA is FIFA. It has a
Exactly.
massive community.
Exactly. It's probably has the biggest gaming community, one of the biggest gaming communities, at least in the world, when you really
Especially
think
in the
about it. I
Middle
mean,
East where football is popular. So
football is the
like,
biggest sport in the
yeah,
world. I think it has probably the biggest gaming, sport, especially sport gaming community in the world. And FIFA really has something going there with their ultimate teams and their microtransactions. They really got a good market there.
yeah.
So
One more thing about FIFA is that as a player, you can play as a player, but you can also play as a manager, the one who coaches.
yeah.
So that's not possible in real life when everybody cannot be a manager or coach. But
Yeah.
in FIFA game, you can be a manager as well.
Exactly, and I like that it lets you play out. Like again, not everybody could be a pro football player and live out that fantasy. They can play football at other levels. I'm sure, depending on what you're playing or what you have to offer, in your area. But like you said, being a pro manager is not something anyone can really just
Yeah.
pick up and do, even in a simulation sense. So I'm not sure if you remember. I think this was something that was, when we were probably a bit younger, all of us here, but. They used to have like manager games. Like they would have like, FIFA Manager or 2007 or something, like, or they would just be a full video game and it would just be managing teams throughout a season. That was the only function of the game. And I remember that was I think the NFL had one for American football. I'm misremembering a bit, but I know that was
Notice
a
they have everything
manager
embedded
game.
into one game.
Yeah, and I think that's a natural evolution of that because I think just having a manager game is just a bit of a smaller scope where you could just have that be a mode, and something like FIFA. So I just always thought that was funny that it reminded me of the games like that in the past. But I had one more question for you about FIFA actually. Do you ever play the Volta football mode? I find that really fun from time to time, playing like that kind of 3v3 or 5v5. For our viewers who don't know, Volta football is kind of like they do like a smaller version of it's a very small court or field, and you're doing like a 3v3 or 5v5 soccer,
Yeah, and just like
football
street
match.
football.
Yeah, like street football. It's exactly like it. I find it very fun.
I've played street football where it's like 5v5 or 4v4. So it's just gives you a real sense of what happens when you play street football outside.
Yeah. Absolutely. I find that game mode just really like fun if I'm trying to have just like a casual, quick experience.
You can do one additional thing. I mean, in terms of benefit, is that you can do more skills in that mode. So in the normal mode, you cannot do some freestyling and other crazy stuff. But in this mode, you can definitely do.
Yeah, they like pull some moves on people, like some street moves as well. I think that aren't maybe not FIFA regulation. I guess
Also, the rules are different in the street football mode. So in the goalkeeper and the offside rules don't apply. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I love like some of the street rules sometimes as well, where you kind of just when anything goes, kind of, especially I think they do that in NBA 2K as well with their street ball mode, or I think they call it the hard top, where it's kind of like no penalties. You can kind of shove somebody. There's anything kind of goes, and it's really just kind of like you're playing at a park in real life. And I like how I really like those modes as well. I do want to move on a bit just from because we are running out of time here, and I am realizing, and I do want to.
Wow.
Yeah, that went but really fast. I think we
That is
I
really
think we were
fast, yeah.
started. I was like, let's talk about a few more games. How many were? And I looked, and we were already at the end of the hour almost. So it shows how fun it could be just talking about stuff we're
Oh
playing.
yeah, definitely. Like you never know the time passing.
Exactly. So I was thinking, I hope we have enough time here. We're definitely closing out here. So I do want to we do want to take these next few minutes here before we at the end of the hour and kind of just wrap it around. So again, we've talked a bit about Hala Justice here. We talked a bit about some games you're playing and some things we're excited for here. So I kind of think my last question, kind of to tie those two things together, would be: is there anything that you, or maybe what we talked about today, or that you just play in general, that maybe gives you some thoughts on what you'd want to develop in the future, whether it's for Hala Justice specifically, or maybe you got the taste, when you're game making now, maybe there's a concept that you thought of, or that sparked your interest and maybe you'd want to develop in the future. Before you answer that, I want to add on that Abzer specifically, you got a question here that asking similar to the Bassam's question about his future and game making and stuff. This is another question for you that would you want to continue on into 3D artwork in the future on top of 2D? So that's kind of a question you got there as well. And I think that kind of ties into what I was asking about. Is there anything else you'd want to do in the future that maybe expands upon Hala Justice?
Actually,
2D?
I've been looking into 3D art. So I want to learn Blender and stuff. Like I have zero experience in 3D stuff. So it's gonna be a really long road to learning about 3D stuff. It's something I actually want to do because it's fun. Like making games is fun and making art is fun. It's a really good question, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that's a big one. It may take some time to think a little.
Exactly.
That's it's like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a tough one
it needs
to
some
answer.
serious thought.
Yeah, but that's like, hey, anything in the future. But I do think that that I know, not to put you on the spot there, but it's just to kind of supplement that, I will say that as you develop more and the more you work on, I think, Hala Justice or anything, I think that's something that'll come to you over time. And
Yeah,
hopefully.
exactly.
You'll continue to find inspirations for Hala Justice throughout the process here.
Like gaming has a great future already. So like
Absolutely.
more and more people are gonna move to the gaming industry, and we already have technology primarily focused on developing games. Like we already have artificial intelligence and stuff like that. So I feel like more people are gonna move to the gaming industry and work there, and we can even use the gaming industry to educate others and to educate and inspire others and to spread awareness about stuff. Like we are already making a game so people can learn about the UAE's history and culture. So we can take a step forward and make it more bigger.
Absolutely.
I agree with Abzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys, and I think that's kind of what I want to wrap up here on today. I probably have one more question here for you after this, but I do want to reiterate there what you said about how the future of gaming. It's something that's I'm very passionate about as well, and I could talk about like in a grandiose kind of way for like all day probably, but I think like you said about how gaming truly I think when people hear the word gaming, they think of just competition-based games or just a narrative game. We think about the limits of what we think about as gaming in the past, or how that's been evolving. But I think we're going to see it's going to continue to evolve, and when we see things like VR or not even VR, but just higher
Exactly.
things, we talk about the metaverse.
I mean,
and
we recently, exactly, the metaverse.
It seems like
soon,
gaming's becoming a core part of everything, and it'll kind of just be an overall interactive media, if you want to call it that. That's something I kind of went to school for myself, where I started thinking, how do I want to get into games? That was always my passion. And I thought, should I go into like film and media? And I saw we had an interactive media program in my school. And I said, oh, this is kind of where I want to be, because this is kind of encompassing not just gaming, but also all software interaction, and how gaming and we're seeing game engines like Unity or Unreal become part of CGI in movies that are becoming part of simulations for healthcare, for for engineering, especially.
I don't know if you know about this, but there are several countries' militaries use video games as a tool to train their soldiers and
Yeah.
operatives, which is really amazing, by the way. And the U.S. military has already implemented such a feature.
Yeah, I
So
believe there's
there's
actually
exactly, yeah,
not only those military simulators. It's a little a besides point, but I did hear that they actually use like an old Xbox 360 controller setup for like submarines and like targeting systems now because it was just way
yeah,
easier to control than
Yeah.
their systems. But that's like you said, they also use like real simulators and things like flight simulators and
exactly.
combat
And
simulators to
that's
train.
how far gaming has come.
Yeah,
Like
and we're
gaming
seeing the
is
same
not
thing
just about, yeah,
in the
gaming is
medical
not just about
field.
having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, in the past
You can
25
continue.
years, gaming industry has come from zero to something which we cannot imagine, and in the
Yeah.
coming years, we can't even imagine as well. So it's
Exactly.
something really, look forward to for in the gaming industry for students.
Absolutely, and I think like you said it perfect there. It's like 0 to like whatever. It's like not even 0 to 100. It's like a limitless.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
endless, if
Yeah,
you will. I will say here, but I think like you said, guys, it's something that we're really passionate about. We're really excited about the future of gaming and educating future game makers to make something that, like you said, can share whether it's history, like the history of the UAE in a Hala Justice, or not any type of knowledge or putting these in an interactive format where we can preserve both our own opinions and stories and our the lessons we want to pass on to other generations in these interactive formats. I think it's going to be we're going to see a big evolution of not only infrastructure with gaming, but the way we tell
yeah,
stories, the way we interact with games.
exactly.
It's very exciting to be a part of gaming when looking towards the future. I
Definitely,
think
yeah.
there's a lot of dystopia, and I think bad things that come with when people talk about the metaverse and the Web3 and a lot of times cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff when we talk about the future of the internet and gaming and stuff. But with all of that, I think there's a lot of up in the air, and I think there's a lot to be excited about. And I think that that's something I
Yeah,
always want to mention is we're so excited to see the games you guys are making. We're excited to see the future of what you'll be doing. And like we said before, when you guys get some questions about your future, whether it's art, engineering, or any path, I think you guys will, have some awesome skills here, and you already do have some amazing skills that I think will suit you well
thank you so
in the
much. That
future
means a lot.
of
That means a
everything.
lot.
And I really do mean that. I mean, I'm really impressed by everything you guys do, and it's awesome to be on the producer end, on the streaming end of seeing the amazing work you guys do on your teams. So I did again. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to everyone at Hala Justice and everyone in all of our teams in the UAE. It's been really awesome so far to see, especially to see our launch here, the streams get going, and you guys have been fantastic. So we're about closing the hour out here soon. So I want to thank you guys again for joining me. I want to thank everyone who hopped in our chat, especially some of our members
The pleasure
here.
is ours.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you guys
guys.
so much. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for all our questions as well, and for everyone watching. If you're watching us in a recording, thank you for joining us and getting to know our Hala Justice team as well. We're gonna have a ton more streams coming. So, like we said here, you guys, we'll probably have to talk soon about our streams in the coming weeks as well. But like for our viewers, we're
Yeah.
gonna be streaming for the next 2 days this week as well, and then next week we're gonna have our other 2 teams actually joining the fold here. So we're gonna have all 4 of our UAE teams, excuse me, on the streams here. A bit of a tongue twister there.
That's
UAE
going to be
teams on the
amazing.
streams, but it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have
Yeah.
a ton of streams every day, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna have back-to-back streams. It's gonna be awesome. So we're gonna be really active here on the Endless Studios YouTube channel as well as on the Endless Studios platform. So stay tuned. I think we have some tasks popping up in the coming days and weeks, but get involved with Hala
Yeah.
Justice. We're gonna have some opportunities here to get involved with the game. It's gonna be really awesome. So yeah, that's about it. That's about all of my announcements here and all of my calls to the audience here for what they can do to get involved. But other than that, I want to leave it to you guys. Is there anything else you want to share before we get going? But other than that, we can kind of wrap it up.
I think we are all good. One thing I gotta say is have fun. Like whatever you're gonna do, have fun with it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Awesome. That's a great sentiment to end on there. As always, we want this whole experience to be fun for us all. Whether you're making games, playing our games, or just getting
Yeah,
involved in the streams,
exactly.
it's all about finding the fun. I think it's something we always love to say a lot.
Exactly.
Finding
Yeah.
the fun. It's the
That's
core
why. That's why we
of game
all
making.
do what we do.
Exactly.
Do it at your free time.
I literally couldn't say it better myself. It's exactly why we're here to spread that fun. So again, thank you all for joining us. I hope you had fun watching us on the stream today. I know we had fun talking about games and stuff. And again,
Oh,
that went
definitely we did.
so
Definitely, yeah.
fast. So we definitely did. So I want to thank everyone again. And that is a wrap for us today. Stay tuned. We have another stream coming here today with the coding team from the Algaroob team coming up very soon here. Within a few minutes, actually, we're going to transfer over on the hour. So we're going to give us a few minutes here as we transfer over to that team, and we'll be live. So stay tuned for that if you're watching us live on the Endless Studios YouTube channel. But for me, Abzer and Bassam, that'll be us for now. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and stay tuned.